What's up, everybody? Welcome. Happy Friday. It is YouTube Live Friday, and yeah, today I'm doing something pretty cool. I'm giving away some books. How cool is that? If you can see me and hear me okay, please hit that like button. Send me a comment, let me know that you can see me all right. And then we'll get started in just a second. Right, let me see if I can see your comments here. Where are the old comments? Let's have a look. Can't track them down. Comments. Here we go. Found the comments button. Right, lots of Japanese here. Hey, King of Flips, Shannon, Ibrahim, Daniel, Michael. Awesome. It's good to see so many of you guys here. Shannon's not awake yet. Well, you will be soon, Shannon, because I'm going to show you exactly how you can win all of these books. And there's some really, really precious books here for me, so I'm looking forward to giving them away. So, all right, guys, let me tell you the rules of the competition, and then stick around, because in about 5 minutes or so, I will be telling you how you can enter and who is going to be the lucky winner of these books. These are some of the best books to start reading in Japanese, and I'm looking for the person I'm going to send them to. So, okay, hey Taylor, glad you found the channel. Good to see you. Konnichiwa, Daniel and George or Jorge, not sure which. Okay, guys, right. So here's how this is going to play out. All right, are you ready? So I'm going to try to figure out get my windows in the right order. Sorry about this. Okay, I've got to be able to read the stuff on my screen, and I'm not doing a very good job of it. All right then, so this is all about Japanese today, so if you have any questions related to Japanese specifically, then stick them in the questions and the comments, and I will answer them at the end. Also, I'm going to give you a little task to do to win these books here, and everything that you do is going to go in the comments. There are some rules, some YouTube rules around giveaways that will be in the description below, and I think that's what I have to say. Yeah, probably. So anyway, first things first, to be in with a chance of winning these books, the first thing you've got to do is subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications too, because I'm going to announce the winner of these next week in the community section of the channel, right? So if you're not subscribed and you don't have notifications on, then you won't hear about it. All right, so very important logistical point. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications too. That way you get to hear about this stuff, all right? And then, like I say, in a week from now, I'm going to announce the winner. That gives people who aren't here live the chance to contribute and to enter in and be in with a chance as well. And then so 1 week from now, I'll announce the winner. We have a system of verifying who you are, and then I'll send out those books. All right, sound good? So, okay, lots of questions coming in. So let me tell you about these books then. So hi, Sarah Bethel, good to see you. Only a little late to the party by 2 minutes. You are forgiven. All right then, cool. So just a little review. There's a video that I made, which should be in the description, where I walk you through all these books and why I think they're so great. So I'll just quickly give you a little sojourn through what they are. So we have this one here. Kami no kodomo tachi wa mina odoru. Nice little Japanese pocket-sized book. I remember reading this. We've got, of course, Kiki's Delivery Service, which is that kind of classic, but in book format. Now, these next ones actually caused a bit of a stir when I mentioned them in my video, because these ones, you can't get them outside Japan, or at least it's very difficult. These are screenplays. And we've got Notting Hill, we've got The Shawshank Redemption, and we've got Die Hard 4. And I picked these up when I was in Japan. And I don't think you can get them outside Japan. So I'm actually going to give away one of these as part of this giveaway. And it's my own personal copy. I'm very reluctant to part with this because I had to go to Japan to get it. But I'm going to send it to you, you lucky winner, whoever you are. But these screenplays are really cool because what you get here, so if you can see this, what you get is the actual, it's all dialogue, right? So it's all spoken Japanese. And you get the English on one side and then the Japanese on the other, along with kind of word lists and stuff like that. These are actually designed for Japanese people learning English, which is why I think they're probably not exported anywhere. But of course they work both ways. And so yeah, if you are the lucky winner, you can tell me whether you want Shawshank, Die Hard, or Notting Hill. There are more. I think there was Sherlock Holmes as well, but I didn't get that one. What else have we got? Kitchen, another cool pocket-sized Japanese book. We've got Shirokuma Cafe, which is a cool little kind of manga style. And some clown wrote this book, 30-Day Mastery, amazing adjectives and adverbs. Master Japanese adjectives and adverbs in 30 days. These ones are on Amazon, and that clown is you can see who that is. Hopefully that's helpful. I couldn't find I got one about confident kanji, but I've lost it. I don't know what's going on. Maybe someone broke in and stole my kanji book. Who knows? And then finally we've got Yotsubato, which of course is another graphic novel stroke manga. So, all right, let's see what in the comments here. Jana says, I've just finished Japanese Uncovered. It was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Thank you so much. Wow. What a wonderful comment. Thank you so much. Japanese Uncovered, for those of you who don't know, is my one of my story learning courses. So it's where I teach you a new language through the power of story. And we have free trials of all these courses. So you can go to my website and check out free trials of that if you like. Andrea says she wants Notting Hill. What a great film that is. And Takawa says I libri saranno let's see, got some Italian creeping in here. I libri saranno firmati da te. Sì, I will sign these books, so you'll not only have these books but signed by me, which kind of devalues them in my opinion, but you know. All right then, so yeah, wonderful books, and I'm very happy to be giving them away. These will be sent anywhere in the world, so whether you're in Timbuktu or Okinawa or Alaska, doesn't matter. I will send them to you at my own expense, and I'll be telling you guys how to enter in just a minute. I haven't told you yet, so for those of you here, you have to stick around. Jonathan here says, I'm really looking forward to seeing Chinese Uncovered on your website. Yes, we've got 5 new story learning courses coming out in September. We've got Chinese Uncovered, Korean Uncovered, Portuguese Uncovered, Russian Uncovered, and Turkish Uncovered. So that is super exciting. And yeah, those will be coming out in September. So make sure you're on the email list, my email newsletter, if you want to find out about those. Yeah, all right then. We've got here, Ezzy loves everything. Hey, Ezzy. Can I just say I love your books? I have the beginner and intermediate for Spanish and intermediate for Korean. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And yes, Daniel, Australia too. I won't send it to the moon, and I won't send it to Mars. But the third most distant place, Australia, yeah, I'll send it there. So I thought before I tell you how to enter for this, I thought I'd just tell you a little anecdote about my time in Japan, because many of you guys recently have been asking about my background with languages. I think there's many of you guys here who are new to the channel, so welcome. It's great to have you here. And I realised that I haven't really talked much about my own language background on the channel. I kind of talk a lot about what I do with languages, my story learning method, obviously, but not so much about my personal background. So I'm going to be doing more of that in the coming weeks. But I lived in Japan from 2009 till 2012. I actually left Japan on New Year's Eve, 2012, going into 2013. And but I thought I'd tell you about one of the most terrifying experiences that I had when I was there. And it was in 2011, and some of you might already know where this is heading. But I was actually taking a Japanese lesson, in fact, or I think it was a trial lesson for a Japanese language school. And I was in Iidabashi, near where I used to work, and I was on the 10th floor of this high-rise building, doing a trial lesson for Japanese. I didn't end up signing. I didn't like the school, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, I was sitting there taking this placement test, and then as I was sitting there, we got a little tremor, a little earthquake tremor. things started to move and shake a little bit. And then one of the Japanese teachers kind of came into the room and said, "Oh, don't worry, it's just a little tremor. We get these all the time, in Japan." I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. I've felt tremors before, no big deal." Except, of course, as you probably know by now, that tremor didn't go away. In fact, it started to get a little bit stronger, and things started wobbling and shaking quite badly. Well, this is a bad tremor, one of the worst tremors that I've been in. And then, of course, 60 seconds later, all hell had broken loose, and the ground was just shaking under us. And this was, of course, the great earthquake from 2011, where I think over 30,000 people lost their lives, mostly in the tsunami in Sendai in North Japan. And so a couple of minutes after it started, by that point, I was kind of all the teachers, because they're trained in this stuff, had kind of dived under their desks, and they were just cowering under their desks, as you should do. That's what you get trained to do. But me, being the sort of ignorant foreigner, I was standing up at the window of this high-rise building from the 10th floor, looking out onto the street, and it was just watching what was happening. It was crazy. Like, everybody that I could see all down the street, everyone was lying on the ground in the middle of the road because they couldn't stand up because the earthquake was so strong. And by that point, 2 or 3 minutes in, it was so strong that the building was just swaying from side to side. Now, I don't know if you can imagine being in a high-rise building on the 10th floor when it's swaying from side to side like this. You could literally feel it like a swing. And I was just standing there, holding onto the window, looking out onto the street. It was just like you're in like a slow-motion movie. And I didn't really understand what was going on. But after a while, I thought to myself, look, there is no way this building can swing any more to the side without it coming down. And I remember thinking right there at that time, this is it. It's one of probably my second near-death experience. The first one was on top of the mountain. You might have heard about that story. But this one, I was convinced the building was coming down because it was just swaying so much. And it was shaking so much, the fridge had kind of popped out of its own fitted thing. All the bookcases were on the floor. It's really difficult to describe the feeling of, the sensation of being there in the middle of that earthquake. And see, one of the things that I think people don't understand about earthquakes when you're in the middle of one is two things. First of all, the noise is deafening. It's so loud that you really can't appreciate how loud it is. It's like someone's got headphones on playing loud music. It's deafeningly loud, just terrifying. It's like the kind of gates of hell are opening up underneath. The other thing that happens is that the earth kind of pushes up from underneath, and you're not just swaying, but it's also kind of pushing up from underneath. So it's like someone's kind of pushing you upwards. And that combination of the noise and the swaying and the pushing upwards is really the most terrifying thing I've ever been in. And it lasted for about 5 minutes. And so I don't know if you've ever thought about how long 5 minutes is before, but 5 minutes when you're in the middle of this and you're convinced that the building is coming down is one of the longest periods of time you can possibly imagine. The whole thing was absolutely terrifying. And anyway, after about 4 or 5 minutes or so, the earthquake calmed down, the building stopped swaying, and basically everyone kind of came out from under their desks. I came away from the window and we just bolted downstairs faster than you can possibly imagine. Like, you can't run down flights of stairs in the middle of an earthquake because it's too dangerous, because it's moving too much. So we had to wait for it to calm down, and then everyone was like, right, out now, everybody get out. So we were charging down 10 flights of stairs and out onto the street down below, and then just thinking, my God, like, what have we just been through? And it's one of the most, it's really indescribable. And so I wanted to tell you that little story there of one of my most memorable experiences from Japan. It doesn't have much to do with learning Japanese, but it was interesting, I remember, in the aftermath, to see how everybody, even with complete strangers, it did kind of bring everybody together. Mobile phones weren't working, the internet was shut off, so you couldn't communicate with anybody. And so all these strangers who had just been through this incredible experience were actually kind of brought together in a way, which is something that doesn't happen very often in Japan. But it was the whole thing was a very surreal moment. So there's a little story from me about my time in Japan. I have many more, but that's one I thought I'd share with you today. So if you found that interesting, maybe hit the like button on the video to let me know that you found that interesting. All right, let's have a quick look at the comments here. I think it's probably time to tell you how to enter this competition, don't you? As Madeha says, that's traumatizing. Yeah, kind of was pretty traumatizing. Ahe says, your voice is so calm, I love it. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty zen now. The end of a long week. Isabella says, can I try to win these books for someone else? Yes, you can, no problem. All right then, so guys, here is what you're going to do to enter the competition. You need to leave a comment below. And by the way, if you're just joining us, this is a competition to win these Japanese books. 7 Japanese books, which are perfect for beginners. They're from my own personal library. I'm going to send this to you anywhere in the world, wherever you are. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to leave me a comment with a meme that you can think of about what it's like to be a foreigner in Japan. So I'm thinking about something here that only expats living in Japan would understand. All right, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen my recent video on polyglot problems. Well, it's the same kind of thing here. What are some expat problems in Japan? Something that a foreigner living in Japan only they would understand. So what's the most challenging part of like living in Japan as an expat, or what is the craziest thing about learning Japanese? What is it? I'm looking for these kind of silly caricatures of life in Japan, or the Japanese language that only expats understand. For example, if you've ever lived in Japan, you will realize that renting an apartment is nigh on impossible because they won't rent to foreigners. And so you kind of go through these incredibly frustrating back and forths with landlords trying to rent an apartment. So what are some things about the Japanese language or Japan, some caricatures of things that only they would understand? I want you to put your best ideas in the comments, and then what I'll do is I'm going to pick my favorite idea from the comments, and then next Friday in the community tab here in the channel, I will announce who has won. So, sound good? All right then, let me know if that makes sense. And for those of you who are just joining, that is the task is to win these books. I'd like you to tell me what is a common caricature or meme, something that only a foreigner learning Japanese is going to understand. And I may or may not take these ideas and turn them into a video in the future. So there you go. And leave your ideas in the comments below, please. And then next week I will pick my favorite and ask you. And yes, thanks, John. As John mentioned, to be clear, please put your ideas in the comments, not in the chat, because apparently there's a difference. I don't really get this because I'm on the other end, right? But yeah, good instructions from John there. Put your idea in the comments. And yes, multiple memes are fine. However many you want to put in, that's absolutely fine. Shlim says, that was an awesome telling of the earthquake story. I felt like it was there. Yeah, well, thank you. It was it's a bit disturbing even recalling that event, to be honest. And no, you don't have to draw them, just in text. And don't worry if you're doing this in English as a second language, that's fine. It's the idea, it's the concept that I'm looking for here, not the specific wording. Another example of this might be how you could live in Japan for 10 years, but Japanese people will still tell you how good you are at using chopsticks, or express amazement at how you use chopsticks. You know, this kind of thing. I'm looking for these caricatures of Japanese and life in Japan. All right then. Jamie says, how long do you have to add your comments? Until next Friday. But you've got a whole week, and then we'll look at it at the end of next week. Megan says, chat is not open for me while video is live. Yeah, so some of you guys are saying comments aren't active until the live end. Okay, in that case, just stick them in the chat. We can go back through and check afterwards, so that's fine. All right then, let me look for some questions. I'm going to stay on now and answer your questions, all questions you have about Japanese. All right then. Dude who's winning says, Ollie, does the 30-day mastery book have accompanying audio? Yes, it does. You can get that on Audible, iTunes, all the usual places. Okay, I'm looking for Japanese related questions here. I won't go with unrelated questions because otherwise we'll be here all day. Right. Looking for Japanese related questions. I might have to scroll up, I guess. Oh, there's so many questions here, guys. I don't even know where to start. Scrolling all the way up to the top. Gonna have to figure out a better system for this in future. All right. Bear with me, guys. I've just got to find the spot in the chat where we've got good questions. Apologies for this. I'll answer all the questions I can find once I find that spot. And there's so many of you guys here. There was 200 at one point. Yeah, so it's not location based, it's international. I'll send this anywhere in the world. Jules says, I've studied several of your Japanese programs. That's fantastic. Yes, I'll sign the books. Okay, why is Japanese so hard? The thing about Japanese is that you've got, that apart from, with the exception of the English loanwords, basically everything you learn has to be learned from scratch. So you know, it's like with Latin languages, what happens is that like things like scientific terms in Spanish or French or Italian are kind of the same as in English because we've got those Latin roots, right? With Japanese, with the exception of the English loanwords, everything you learn has to be learned from scratch, which really puts a massive load onto learning the language. But you've also got big conceptual changes. In Japanese, we don't express things in the same way as we express with English. So you've got to kind of think of a different way, a different avenue through expressing ideas, which is quite a difficult thing to do. That's how I interpret it anyway. Zrad says, is it good to watch anime to learn Japanese? Yeah, sure. If you like it. Never do something because someone says so. Only ever do language learning activities because if you enjoy them. I think that's really important. Life's too short. So yeah, so Dashiel says how to memorize grammar points more easily. This is a particularly interesting point for Japanese because the grammar that you have to contend with in Japanese is quite different from other languages that are closer to English. Here's your answer. Reading. So you can learn about grammatical concepts in Japanese from textbooks. You probably have that experience of doing it. But the reality is that you're never going to be able to learn those grammar points by thinking about it. Instead, you're going to have to internalize them. And so that's why it's important to start reading as soon as possible, because that's how you're going to notice those grammar points and internalize them. You can't learn Japanese through logic alone. Not going to work. Mohammed says, is Japanese tougher than Arabic? I'd say they're about the same. Different challenges, but similar difficulty. Dimitri says, is this UK only? No, international. I'll send these books around the world. Let's have a look. Oh, this is an interesting question. Are there significant regional differences in Japanese, like, for example, British and US English? No, not really. Japanese is it does vary from north to south. There's different kind of they call them dialects. Like you have the Tokyo variety, and then you have Osaka Ben, but the language is incredibly standardized across the country. You know, far more so than like English in the UK, where if you travel from London to Birmingham to Leeds to Newcastle to Manchester, you've got totally different accents. So, yeah. Matias says, falas português? Claro que sim, cara. Mas hoje é japonês, entendeu? Tá bom? Alright. Alright then. I think that's probably enough for now. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, last one here from Ashley. How did learning Japanese compare to learning Cantonese? So there's an interesting difference here, which is that obviously with Cantonese you've got tones, and in Japanese you don't. That's one thing. But the main one, learning Cantonese makes you realize a few things about other languages, namely that with other languages like Japanese, at least you've got stuff that you can actually read. Even though you have to learn the writing system. With the thing about Cantonese, it's similar with Arabic dialects. You never write down the dialect of how it's spoken. You can only ever listen to it, which makes it very difficult from a learning perspective to find material that actually kind of is suitable for studying with. And it's very difficult to learn a language when there's the kind of dearth of resources to learn with. So Cantonese, I think, was harder than Japanese, purely from the perspective of like, man, I can't find anything to learn with. So it makes you realize how having a bunch of these books where the stuff that's written you can actually use when you're speaking is extremely useful. All right then, everybody, that's it for now. Quick reminder of what to do. If you would like to win these books, and I'll send them anywhere in the world to one lucky winner, please in the chat, and then if you're watching this later, in the comments, doesn't matter where, either one, I want you to leave me your favorite Japanese meme. So this is a meme about Japan, the country, the Japanese people, the Japanese language, or what it's like to be a foreigner in Japan. The classic things, like, for example, people being amazed at how good you are at using chopsticks, even though you've lived there for 20 years. Something like with the Japanese language itself, that experience of kind of reading a sentence and not understanding anything that's just happened. It seems to happen all the time in Japanese. Whatever meme you think is kind of typical for expats in Japan or people learning Japanese, I want your memes. And put those in the comments, please. And I will pick my favorite, and I will announce it in the community section of the channel next week, next Friday. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, make sure you turn on notifications, that way you actually get to hear about this. And that's it, guys. This is by far the most common question here. Do these contests apply to those outside the US? Yes, everywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can win these. I will sign them and I will send them at my own expense from my personal library to you. All you got to do is leave me with your favorite meme about Japan or the Japanese in the comments. Sound good? All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. It is great to see you. I really appreciate all of you. We've had a lot of new people join the channel recently and follow us, so thank you so much for that. I really love reading through the comment sections. I obviously can't reply to everybody, but I love reading and hearing from you, so please do continue to comment on my videos. I really appreciate it. Please share the channel with any friends you have who are learning languages, and I'll see you back on Monday for the next video, and then next Friday for the announcement of the winner. Sound good? All right then, guys. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you anon.